Hello, Lynchburg City students. I'm Tristan Brown. I'm back again with another math SAT prep video. Unlike most of the previous videos, this one's going to be significantly different than the videos we've done in the past. I had, for those of you at Heritage, Mr. Cohen, he asked me if I would do a video using the calculator that you'll have to use on the SAT, and I told him absolutely. So that's what this is. I know some of you, many of you probably, are going to be taking the SAT at the very end of this week. So I want to make sure to get this out before you guys got to the SAT, so you guys knew what to do. The video, or what I did is I downloaded an emulator of the TI-84 on my laptop so I could show you guys more clearly than using this one and trying to hold it up to the screen like that. Obviously, that would not be nearly as effective because I would have to be doing like this the entire video, and it would just be a nuisance to try to do that. So that's why I have this on the computer. This is a silver edition that they have in the emulator. What that means is that when we start graphing functions, that they'll all be in colors on the actual TI-84 that you all will probably use and that I have. It doesn't, it's blank, but they do the same thing. This is version, the silver edition, just a little bit fancier, but they'll do the exact same thing. Before I started this video, I went ahead and factory reset it, so everything that my calculator has on it that you'll see in this video is exactly where you'll start at. That way you guys know how to set it up from piece to piece to part. And this is probably going to be a two-part video. I'll probably post the other half of this on Thursday. I tried to record it as one whole collected video, and it ended up at close to 40 minutes. So I know you guys, I wouldn't want to watch a 40-minute video. I doubt you guys do. So I'm going to break this up into sections, hopefully go quicker than 20 minutes each section too. But we'll see. So with all that said, that's what we're here for today, is just a calculator tutorial essentially. So what we do, this is my home screen. It tells me my memory's cleared. So I'm going to hit on. This is what you guys would hit. And then it gives me this screen. So it is a calculator. It can do basic things, of course. If I want to know what 12 plus 6 is, it'll tell me. And anytime you want to, once you type something in, you hit, this doesn't have an equal sign, it has enter. And it'll bring that up here. And let me move my screen out of the way so you guys can see what this is doing. That's probably more beneficial to you all if I'm down here for this video. And it can do lots of other things. This button right here, this is for a negative sign. The coding on this, if you try to put a minus sign instead of a negative, it will not work. If I put minus 25 plus 3, it's going to tell me there's an error. Oh, it did answer. No, that's also a key thing. So if you're just doing collective, that's fine, that's funny. If you're doing a series of calculations and you need this answer, if you just hit an operation before you hit any numbers, your division, multiplication, minus or addition, subtraction or addition, it'll just take that previous number and then use whatever you have after it. However, let me try that again to show you what I was trying to do. Hit back, delete, back, delete, minus, probably. And then if I were to put 25 plus 3, this will come up with as an error. Anytime you have an error, this screen's going to come up. It's going to say quit or go to my general, just say quit. I'll see what I did wrong. And you guys will see that if I instead hit this button, the negative button, and hit 25 plus 3, it should give me negative 22, which it does. So that's what we want. So that's just a minor thing. This clear button gets rid of your screen. If you're actually highlighted on something, if I hit, just for reference sake, if I hit 18 enter, and you can't hit that and it'll give you feedback. And now if I hit clear, it should just clear the 36. So that's how that works. If I accidentally make a mistake while I'm typing, and maybe I say I want parentheses, I want 45 plus 2 parentheses, like a distributive property, 18, that's parentheses, that's how that works. or let's say I want -4. Always make sure you close your parentheses. Some things it'll work without it, some things it won't, so just keep that in mind. So that's distributed, how you use parentheses, and it's got some other variations of grouping symbols that you can use. I just always use parentheses because they're easiest to access. If instead, say I meant to type 18 plus 4, what we can do, I hit this and I hit enter, it'll give me this again. If I hit these arrows, obviously you see it move my cursor, and I hit plus, it'll change the symbol. And suppose I just accidentally hit that one, and it was supposed to be 8 plus 4. If I hit this button that says delete, that'll let me go back and just get rid of one entry instead of having to clear out everything and retype the entire expression, just to save you some time. One thing that is very important that you guys should know about is this button, mode. Mode's going to come up with this screen, which has a lot on it. You guys thankfully only need to worry about this one section of it. So if I scroll down to this fourth row, you're gonna see it has this radian word highlighted, and beside it the word degree. On the SAT, typically your answers they're going to want in degrees. Sometimes they might not. So anytime we use a trigonometric function or sine, cosine, or tangent, unless the question specifies otherwise, always make sure you have this highlighted and you just hit enter on that. And now you see anytime I put in a trig function, it'll be in degrees just because I have to use it now. The second button, if you look over most of these buttons, they have something in blue highlighted over them. So if you hit second, it gives you access to whatever's in blue. I just want to get out of this window, so if you hit second quit, that'll take you out of any window you're in that you don't want to be in, which is very important and incredibly useful, and you're going to need to use that a lot probably. So now, just to show you, if I put cosine, just use the second version button again. Let's use inverse cosine just for the sake of it. If I put inverse cosine of 1/2, and you could have put that as a fraction like I did, or you could put 0.5, it would have registered the same either way. You'll see it gives us 60, which is obviously in degrees, which is what we want. And that being said, the inverse trig functions are just over their actual counterpart. So that's just how you use inverse function. This button that says math, it's nice. It gives us some things that you may need. I doubt you'll use many of these. If you hit a number it looks like a decimal that you're not sure what the fraction version of it is, and you have a question to ask for a fraction, you can hit this button and you would hit fraction, enter, enter. Obviously 60 is a whole number, but that's just in theory how you would use that. If I had 0.56 math, you can see it gives me 14/25. So that's how that works. And the opposite way, I doubt you would have a actually, the decimal button's not overly useful. This, all right, this would give you something cubed. So if I wanted 3 cubed, I could come down here. Or if I wanted the cubed root of something, I can use this. If I want any root of something, if you have 4 on the outside of your radical symbol, and you have something on the inside, you use this button. And when I hit enter, it'll bring up, and I'll just type what root I want. And then if I put 64, it'll give me a number. Obviously, that doesn't mean much. And also, just for reference, if you have an irrational number and you try to hit this, it's just going to leave it in decimal. That just means it's irrational. There's no adequate fraction to represent it. So that's how that works. Definitely something I want to get to in this video. I know don't want to keep you guys too long today. If I wanted something, I showed you they had cubed here in the math, but if I wanted something to a higher power or even cubed, if you just hit this arrow, and I hit to the 5th power, it'll give me 5 to the 5th power, or any other number to any other power you want. Squared and square root are here. Squared, it just hit the button, or if I hit second, that'll give me the square root. If you use logarithms, use this as the button if you want the natural log, or if you hit second, natural log. They are conveniently placed together, at least. You get e to the x. So then something I definitely want to go over. If we hit this y equals button, this is going to take me to my plot. This right here is where we can start to graph functions, which is probably what your primary use of the calculator is going to be during the SAT. Notice all of these are in the form of y equals. Obviously, if you have two different variables other than x or y, that's okay. Just make sure you know which, in the context of your problem, is equivalent to y, so that that's what you have your equation set equal to when you type it in here. So say I want the graph of 2x plus 5, just something simple. So we have y equals 2. This button right here, I know it's got 4 different symbols in there. However, as far as you guys are all in math, the only thing you need to worry about is if I hit this, it gives me an x. You have to change some settings on the calculator here in mode, but you guys won't have to do any of that if you want access to these other symbols. And then I hit +5, and I hit enter. And then if I hit this button right here, it says graph. I know it's a little hard to read on here probably, but it says graph. I come here and it's going to pull up this line, 2x plus 5. One of the most incredibly useful things. For a straight line, it's not super useful, but if I hit second and I hit this graph button, you see it says table. And it's going to show me all of the values of x and y for this. So if I want to know what f of 7 is, I just scroll down to 7 and see that y is 19 at 7, which is incredibly useful. Obviously, again, for a straight line, it doesn't help as much, but for more complicated functions, it does. Another thing, if I have really big numbers, a lot of questions, as you've probably seen if you watch the videos, they'll give you more real-world examples and have money or something involved. However, your graph isn't going to just automatically adjust to whatever the question asks. As you'll see, when we get this, that isn't the whole line, of course. So if you come up here, and for some of it you won't care, you can just come to table and go to whatever value you want. However, if you did actually want to see what the graph looked like, say suppose you had a question and asked which graph accurately represents this given function, if you come here to window, you can adjust where your graph is at, what you see when you hit graph. What is standard is from x is -10 to x is +10, and y is -10 to +10. The y scale of 1, that just means for each interval on the graph, each little mark that you saw represented 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, they were just counting numbers. And you can adjust that. I usually won't. However, just for the sake of what we're doing, I'm going to change that to 0. And then we had our y-intercept at 180, I believe, because of what I did. And if this is a real-world example, you can always set your minimums at 0 because you're not going to have negative numbers in real-world examples. Not in any of the SAT ones anyway, just because of the way they apply them. And now I do this. And just to show you what it does, I'll change the y scale to 10. Then I hit graph. See, now I can see from the y-axis down to the x-intercept. So I actually get a nice view of what that has. So that's just a nice little introduction into what it does. Obviously, the calculator is capable of a ton of different things, and we'll get into more of it. Again, I'll do another one of these on Thursday so you guys are more prepared, and I'll go over some of the different features that we didn't go through today. But I wanted to give you guys this so you could start to realize what you were, or to figure out what you were doing when you use your calculator. That way, when you get to the SAT, you guys are prepared. So thank you guys for watching. Have a great day. I do wish you the absolute best once you get to the SAT. And I guess I will see you guys at the next video.